Seriously. Oh no, because actually. Testing.
Testing.
Can everybody hear me?
Can everybody hear me?
Yep. Okay. So I just wanted to address everyone on those events that happened 6 months ago. That video I did begin sometime around November of 2025. The reason why I didn't post this video right away is because at first I wasn't going to, actually. It appeared that our 2.5-year investigation blew up in our face. And I really need to explain why and how we got to this point. So let's just start in the beginning. We didn't have enough evidence. Evidence is very important for any case. And I understand that by law. You need hardcore evidence, which we did have a lot of evidence. But the thing that hurt our case, in fact, the thing that killed our case, is the fact that the victims wanted to remain anonymous. One in particular. One girl who actually could have won us this case, but was too afraid to let herself know. For whatever reason, I don't know why. It was her choice. But if you're going to bring accusations against someone, you have to go all in, or the case will not prevail. That is the one thing that blew this case up in our face. Thus why Isaac is still working at a church with kids. Now, overall, they did confirm to me that there will always be another adult watching supervision. So that is a praise. But I'm not here going to accuse this guy of being a pedophile, because clearly we do not have enough evidence, even though the truth is in the pudding. Let's just start in the beginning real quick. I hired Isaac back in March of 2022, when I used to lead RCOG Ministries, one of the largest Roblox ministries at the time. And he was a great friend of mine. I didn't just out of the blue come up with all this accusations and attack him because I didn't like the guy. No, we were actually great friends. Like, very good friends. He was one of my most trusted members. In fact, he was my co-owner. He was one of my co-owners, which only a select handful of people have ever been in that position. Now we call them top advisors. So he was a very high up rank. Very important guy. Respected the guy. Got along with him. We both came from the same denomination when I used to be Southern Baptist. I had no problems with him. But I didn't know his history. I only knew what he told me. This guy used to work for TRC. Then he quit for a legit reason. It's because TRC, which is led by Daniel, turned liberal. And I wouldn't blame him. So he left. But then he worked for another ministry. I believe they're called the Youthful Ministry or something like that. I forget what they're called. They're not active anymore. But this is where it began. At this in particular ministry. Hold on, I gotta figure out which church that is. Virtual Youth Ministries. He got fired there. I think this was back in 2020 or 2021, around the time that something came out. Apparently someone who worked there wanted to talk to Isaac. Something private, one-on-one. And I guess there was something going on with her in real life that I'm not aware of, nor if I did know, I can't really say. But she just wanted to talk to him about it. And Isaac told me the story. And so he then brought up some things that was going on in his life. And it involved that 12-and-a-half-year-old girl who he dated in real life. Confirmed, by the way, that is the only case that's confirmed. Dated her at his church. He was 18. She was 12-and-a-half, 13, going on 13. 5.5-year gap, illegal. They didn't really do anything though. They just called each other girlfriend, boyfriend. Totally innocent, I guess, in that area. It's still kind of, the fact that the pastor and the parents didn't really do anything about it that much, it just says a lot. But she then told on him. And Virtual Youth Ministries fired him. But this is where they went wrong. And I can't respect Virtual Youth Ministries for this. They kept it a secret because they were too afraid of ruining their reputation. Thanks a lot, by the way, because then you let me ruin my own reputation by hiring this guy. Great job, Youthful Ministry. You did such a wonderful job. And that is why you're a dead group now. But anyway, that's his bitterness. He then moved on to TCC, which is the cross community owned by my good friend Friar Matthew, who now is owning the largest Catholic church of TCC, of course, on Roblox. And he also worked for Jesus is Alive Ministries, former leader Pastor Axe, another kind of good friend of mine in the past. We don't really talk anymore, but he worked there too. Though I can't recall if Jesus is Alive Ministries fired the guy. I know for a fact Friar Matthew fired him, but I was not aware of it. So when I hired him in 2022, nobody said anything. And I had this guy for around 6-7 months. Oh, great! I said the number. Let's rephrase that wording. 5-6 months. There we go. That's better. Around there. Okay, be quiet, Gen Alpha. Anyways, and all of a sudden, somebody out of the blue said that he dated a minor. Well, unfortunate for us, we brushed it off. Me and my board members. We just said, it's probably not true. And we just let it go. And then more people were starting to accuse it, and we were like, okay, maybe he didn't do anything. He said they didn't do anything and that they're no longer dating. So they didn't have sex and they didn't kiss or anything. So there was nothing illegal activity. So we moved on. Then my co-owners at the time were pressuring me that you should probably remove this guy. And I refused yet again, while at the same time talking to Isaac saying, listen, this is what's going on. It's become aware to me what happened. And then he explained it to me. And I left it at that. And I believed him. I said, okay, I'll handle this. So I kept him on for another couple months. And then Friar Matthew, my good friend Friar Matthew, comes at me and threatens me and says, if you don't fire this guy, we're going to massively report your ministry. Something like that. And of course, I'm afraid of that guy because he's like 15 times bigger than me. Maybe not that big. Only 6 times bigger than me, my bad. And so, of course, I naturally was like, and I didn't know what to do, but I fought against him anyway. I said, no, I'm not firing the guy. I don't care how much power and pressure you have. I ain't firing this guy. Well, after people kept telling me, including my board, you need to fire this guy, I finally gave in and put a vote. A vote that I voted no in. I did not vote yes to remove him. But it passed. And he was fired. But I was still trying to help him. And I was still his friend. And we still talked in VC regularly. about what I was going to do and like how we're going to fix this. Like, but things that he was saying wasn't helping his case, like such as he got in a call with Friar Matthew and Michael and was like, no, I don't regret it. I'm not sorry for what I did. And that's exactly not what you say when you're trying to get people to forgive you. You don't say, no, I don't regret what I did. You should have, because it was wrong. That hurt your case right there. And you were putting me in a hole to where I couldn't get you out of. Or you weren't putting me in a hole. You were putting yourself in a hole that I couldn't get you out of. And so I was like, what do I do? And now I had pressure to unally your ministry, because I used to have your ministry allied in my group. After firing you, I kept you as an ally for months after that. And I kept you in the group as well. I let you stay in RCOG. And people were like, you need to get rid of this guy, period. End of quotes. But then we stopped talking for a long time. We were still chill. And all of a sudden, in 2023 of November, September, another victim comes up. I call them victims. Not like they did anything. You knew this person online, and I know who you know who I'm talking about if you ever watched this video. And you said a lot of weird things. And at first, I was like, is this even for real? But then my co-owners were like, you need to get in a call. We need to interview this person. So we interviewed her. And that's when I started to switch sides. And so then I gave you an opportunity to help yourself by inviting you on my channel to get interviewed by me, Friar Matthew, and my thumbnail creator, Alexandra. We all interviewed you. And maybe Bluetopian, I believe he was there too. And you just made yourself look even worse. So we gave you a chance and you blew it. Right after that, you cut all contact with us. I switched sides officially, and we went dark. This was right at a time when a YouTube channel was exposing you for other stuff, but then they got all this information. I actually don't know 100% how they got the information, but they got it. That YouTube fifth column. I don't know who they were. I did not work with them. They were supposed to make a video, but they didn't, so I just made one myself. But anyways, they got your information, and so it came to us, and well, we had to do something about it. And that's when you were going to work for this large ministry on Discord with over 20,000 people. And Vision, I went to, and I was like, listen, you got to fire this guy. And so he tricked you and did an interview with you and got you to admit a lot of things. Don't ever give anyone your personal information, no matter who it is. They might seem trustworthy. Don't trust anybody on the internet. So that happened. And then we went quiet for like a year. And then all of a sudden, 3 more people popped up on your list, which I have to admit, not enough evidence for them, but they were still stories that I was not able to get you to admit because you never gave me the opportunity to talk to you again. So if you ever do want to give me an opportunity to talk to you, I am all ears. I am ready to talk to you, Isaac, willing to hear you out. And I would love it if you would answer my 3 questions of whether or not these 3 stories are actually accurate. I would love your side of the story because you never know. These stories might not be true. But let's name them real quick. You were swimming. You saw this girl. And you thought she was your age when you were around 19 or 20 years old. And you started having feelings a little bit for her at this pool. Already kind of a weird situation. You're at a pool. The worst place to find a woman, by the way. You start having feelings, hanging out. And then her father goes up to you and he says, you know, she's only, 13? I believe is what he said. 12 or 13? Seriously? You think a 12 or 13-year-old looks like a 20-year-old? Yeah. Okay. You need to let me know if that story is actually true or not. Though you didn't really do anything, so that really did nothing. But it just shows that you can't really tell what a kid looks like, apparently. You think a kid looks like an adult, which is kind of scary, but okay. Then there was another victim that you told, or person, not victim, person, and you told her, how about we meet? Yeah, you don't tell a girl that. Let's meet when you never met each other, first of all. And she was very uncomfortable. Turns out her mom did not like the fact that I showed that image, that screenshot, though I blurred out her name. And she actually almost got me banned on YouTube for exposing you, apparently. I guess she got mad because I showed her daughter's screenshots with you that were indicating that you were inviting her to your house or that you were inviting yourself to her house. Whatever. That, by the way, failed and she lost, obviously, which is why I'm still here. And the video was not taken down. She tried to get the video down and it did not get down. Then there was another one, and you told a guy to show you his thighs. Now that is an interesting one. I thought you didn't like gay people, which was weird to me that you actually asked the guy. He was a minor, by the way. You know what's also crazy? Show me your thighs or something like that. That's how you said it. In voice chat in front of people. What in the world? Why would you even say that? Though these three are not like, it's not like that you were dating them or anything. But it just really blew my mind that boom, 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 we got all three of these stories a year later. Like, why weren't these mentioned to us sooner? Of course, though, we never got you to admit them. So those cases were, and so we only had those two victims, which the one victim that could have actually won us this case refused to expose herself, or to show herself, I should say, not expose herself, but to show herself of who she is. And so we couldn't tell people her name, even though that we know that you know who she is, which is why it was weird to us why she wanted to remain anonymous, because you already know who she is. But she did not want the public to know who she is because I guess she was afraid that the public would think of her terrible or something, which is weird. Why would you think that the public would be mad at you for exposing someone who clearly has something, just likes to flirt with young people? I mean, why would people get mad at you for exposing that? Unless, this is where my staff team got mad at me for saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, unless you lied. No, I'll give Isaac grace right there. Maybe you did lie. I don't know. Maybe you just wanted to make a big scene out of nothing. I don't know. You were about to abandon me. If I got sued by Isaac, you were going to say, see you later, sucker. I ain't going to court is what you're saying. Good luck. How am I going to go to court without a victim, without a witness? Seriously? And so right there, that's what really killed her case. But we tried to prevail without her. And that's when we got your church's information. And then we were like, let's just contact them and let them know. And it took them months until we finally got a hold of them. And then they took my call. And that is when I talked with one of the people who works at your church. And we had a good discussion. But I knew that we did not have enough evidence or sources. And so after hearing your constant threats of wanting to sue me, which I don't know why you chose me to say that to, because I'm not the only one in this case. In fact, I wasn't even the leader of the case until 2 years ago, after 6 months of them already having their own case. So in reality, you should have threatened to sue Matthew or Alexia. I don't know why you chose me, but okay, to each his own. And I was ready for the challenge, honestly, but then I realized that I could lose and I would lose money, even though I could probably afford a lawyer. I would never see that money back, which would hurt me financially. I could have done it though. And I was thinking of that. I was like, I don't really want to go to South Carolina or North Carolina just to go to court for a case that it appears that I'm not going to win anymore because the victim doesn't want to go to court either. And so I was stuck with this decision. Okay, what do I do? And then you started talking about doxing 5 people. And obviously, I don't know who you were talking about. 5 people you wanted to dox. I only know of me and Matthew and potentially Alexia. I don't know who the other 2 people you're threatening to dox or have someone dox that you're supposedly holding back, as you said in your video. I'm holding them back not to dox you, but you never know. I would love to know who this person is because I would love to pay them a visit. Not in real life, but in Discord call, obviously. That's not a threat. So don't take it as a threat. And I know you will, but I don't care. I would love to talk to this person and get to know them and be like, hey, so you threatened to dox us. You know what we do to people who threaten to dox people? Yeah, we call the cops on them. That's another thing. You were mad at me for saying if anyone in my group commits a crime in real life, we will get their information and call the cops on them. And you said that that was a bad idea and that we should show grace. No, just show grace for them. Like they murdered someone or they did something disgusting like you did, for instance, which was date a minor. Very serious crime. If you'd like to know my stance politically, I do support the death penalty for murderers, rapists, and pedophiles who actually rape kids. I'm not talking about the ones who are just dating them. I'm talking about the serious, more serious crimes in the pedophilia race. I do support the death penalty as a Christian, and as a Christian should. So there's my stance for you right there. But then the church wrote back. Finally, after a month of apparently meeting with each other, I guess it was a big issue at your church. And they were like, well, we don't have enough evidence, so we're not going to fire the guy. So we're going to ask him to stay another 6 months. And we lost the case right there. Our investigation, we lost it right there. That was where we realized, yep, we can no longer do anything. So you'll be happy to know, Isaac, we dropped the case 6 months ago. Good job. It blew up in our face. And obviously, of course it did. But I will say this. RCOG is always watching. And so the moment we do find another victim, the case will be reopened. But until then, you are not guilty until proven guilty. So you are still an innocent man. And I apologize for anything that might have went overboard, such as people potentially trolling you or calling you names. I apologize for that. That had nothing to do with me. I promise you that. And I'm aware that there are bullies online. It's the worst platform with bullies is online. That's why I would never let my kids have a cyber technology like this of online, because there's so much out there. It's a terrible world out there, and people really need to know this. Guard your kids from online. It's not a great place to raise a kid. It really isn't. It turns them into bullies, or it turns them into the bullied. It's going to happen, one of the two. Or just play and have fun and somehow resist all that crap. I don't know. That's rare, but you could. But it's still not a good idea to have your kids on this, especially since there's adults, predators, all kinds of people online. So in conclusion, I was unable to continue this case because of all the threats of doxing me, doxing 4 of my friends. I really would love to know who those people are, because if it's one person I'm thinking of, then that could get you in serious trouble, because that one person I'm thinking of happens to be the victim. So if she was on that list, boy, would that make a good story. But secondly, I would love it if you would release all that information. I would love that. I would also love, so here's the deal. You release all that information to me privately, if you would like. Let me know who you were going to have doxed, the 5 people. Then I would like you to meet me in a Discord call. And I would love to talk to you about these 3 other things, the 3 other cases. And I would love it if you would, I'm giving you an opportunity to prove yourself innocent on these 3 cases. And I will upload it on YouTube, naturally. I'm going to tell you that. No matter how the story goes, it will be uploaded. But it gives you an opportunity to explain yourself, and I will let you explain yourself. You can name me conditions, people who you would like there not to be at, like If you don't want someone to be there, then let me know and they won't be there. I do have to say, the one person who I have to have there is my recorder, because I am unable to record on my own in a Discord call. At least I can record on my own talking. But yes, that's my offer. And if you do that, I will be happy to help prove your innocence. But if not, just know that the case may be over, but our eyes will never look back. I am very serious on my stance politically in this world, and I have very strong political views on creepy people being near kids. And I could say as much as I want right now in this call about who I don't want around kids, but some people might get mad at me for saying it, like the homosexuals. Anyways, until then, just know I'm always a message away. Thank you for watching.